Good evening. Metro News Time 5:47. I'm Christina Millman.
More and more these days, the part of Hong Kong that's Western-oriented and English-speaking has an increasingly Canadian feel to it, and literally a Canadian voice.
In Ledgeco today, Governor Chris Patten responded with wit and sarcasm to yesterday's...
Christina Millman is the newsreader for one of the territory's leading radio stations. She's 28, from Toronto, and has 2 degrees. But after scrounging for jobs and eventually leaving Canada for California, she's ended up in Hong Kong.
Things are tough in Canada for everybody. They're even tougher to be a young person starting out. Here, things are more wide open. It is a lot harder to find a broadcasting job in Canada than it is here, even given the fact that for political reasons things are shutting down here, and as an expat there aren't probably as many opportunities as there were before. But I still think there are more opportunities than there are in Canada.
This celebration of economic opportunity and freedom is attracting a lot of young Canadians. There's a swagger here that's seductive, and it's fueled by money and power.
We're going to have to come down for a whole week, I think.
For people like Mark Kaufman, Amy Lee, and Rob Killorn, that compares favorably with what they've left behind in Canada.
I'm 28, and in Canada, I haven't worked full-time in my life.
I prefer basically the lifestyle and the culture back in the Western countries, and so I'm just here to make some money, get some good experience, try to have a career.
There's not much happening for our generation right now. I mean, I'm doing basically what my grandfather did after the war. He went where things were happening, where the economy was strong and things were paying off for him well. Where back in Canada, my education isn't going to necessarily give me a career.
But if finding work in Hong Kong has been relatively easy, getting used to life here is another thing altogether. 8 o'clock in the evening, Christina's finished for the day. She takes the Star Ferry back to Hong Kong with the sound technician Ed, another Canadian.
Everything seems to be a lot more accelerated. I used to think that I was busy in Montreal, and now I laugh about that because it's like this, you're on this runaway train and you don't know why you're on it even. But everybody else is speeding along, so you hop on for the ride.
Like the skyline, the Hong Kong lifestyle is impressive, a bit like the Emerald City in the Land of Oz. You can double your salary and cut your taxes in half, but there's a price. 12-hour workdays and living conditions that have many new arrivals admitting there's no place like home.
Well, we've been up in the mid-levels for a month now, so I'm going to take you on a little bit of a tour of what it's like where we are now, and a lot of expat young people live like this. This isn't my room. I stayed here in this corner for about a week, sleeping on these pillows. But as you can see, going back here, a lot of parties take place around here. 4 Australian sailors knocked this one door down, so 2 days before we got here, so it doesn't close properly. But I don't mind because I'm sleeping out on the couch anyway, so this is my home right here for about another 2 more weeks until we find our place on Lantau Island, which is about another hour out of the way here.
Ah, a typical expat shared accommodation flat. The beer cans and videos, the obligatory dead plant, the culinary disaster zone, and, of course, The Simpsons.
Well, it's funny, I think that kind of television will work here in Asia.
Despite the living conditions, Rob, Amy, and Mark say they're all in Hong Kong for the next few years at least. But the economic situation in Canada is so bad, they're in no hurry to hurry back.
Maybe it'll change me a lot. In the next couple of years, I won't want to go back, like a lot of people here.
Across mid-levels, Christina takes the world's longest escalator up the mountain to her home on Hollywood Road. She's got 380 square feet, less than half the size of a small one-bedroom apartment in Canada.
I pay 6,000 Hong Kong, which is well over 1,000 Canadian. Certainly more than I ever paid for rent at home for what I got.
But that's a good deal.
Yes. I couldn't find, if I lost this place tomorrow, I wouldn't be able to find a place for anywhere close to this.
Christina's been in Hong Kong 8 months now, and like the others, has no plans to leave just yet.
I'm definitely having fun. I'm running myself ragged, but I'm having a good time. The candle burns at both ends. It will not last the night, but oh, my friends and all my foes, it gives a lovely life. That's Hong Kong.
Joining us now to discuss this flow of young Canadians westward, we have two guests in the studio. Bill Saywell is the president of the Asia Pacific Foundation, and Catherine Barker is an education consultant in Vancouver. Welcome to both of you. This seems like a great thing. Young people from Canada who are going and learning about different cultures and increasing their own skills. What do you think about this?
I think it's terrific. I think it's terrific. Many of them go for different reasons, but some of them get their career started in a very positive way where they've had difficulty doing it in Canada. These economies are growing at close to double-digit every year, so there are opportunities there. Others are just going for the experience of absorbing another culture, learning another language, knowing that that will be to their advantage when they come back to Canada or they end up in Europe or wherever.
Catherine, any downside at all in this?
We can't afford that. We pay thousands and thousands of dollars to educate every child, public dollars, in Canada. And if those dollars go offshore, if those young people leave this country with that skills and knowledge that's been paid for by public funds, it's a net loss to Canada. And in this particular global economy, we can't afford. That's one of our most valuable resources, our education system, our educated young people.
Catherine,
we can't just give them away.
But first, they can't get jobs here. They can't get the kinds of jobs
I'm not
they want.
convinced they can't
Secondly,
get jobs
you
here.
mentioned the operative word. We're in an international economy, in a global world marketplace now.
But if you
they
open
come
the
back
newspaper.
with networks. They come back with experience. They add value when they come back. This is a tremendous investment for this country.
Well, I think if we're talking about a brain drain, I think there are sort of patterns to brain drains, and I don't think that one of those patterns is that people come back. Look at the doctors that are leaving Ontario. We've systematically lost nurses to Texas from Canada for all sorts of reasons. I don't think those individuals plan to come back.
But this is a different phenomenon, going as a healthcare worker out of a province where difficulties are faced and you're going in mid-career, whatever it is, to start a different career in, say, the United States. I think this is totally different than a few thousand, maybe even 10, 20,000 young Canadians going to Asia, where Asia is the engine of economic growth in the world now, and it will remain that for the next 10 years.
Your youngest daughter, for example, tell us about her.
Well, I don't know whether she's typical, but representative of this generation of Canadians who had a good education, 2 master's degree, one in journalism out of Columbia, speaks Chinese, speaks some Hindi, couldn't get a job when she hit the job market in Canada about 4 or 5 years ago. So she went to Asia, where she had lived before, and has found no difficulty at all in working for some of the very best journals in that region and getting her career started. And I think that's what most of these people are doing. They're not going to Asia to live for the rest of their lives, though some may stay, but they're going to get the opportunity to get their career going in a very positive way, which is what they want.
What should universities be doing here, or society in general be doing, to try to harness some of these opportunities and obviously the willingness of Canadians to go abroad, to integrate it, let's say, as part of a university program?
Well, as a small example, I think if we were to build into every certificate and degree program a work experience placement in some other part of the world with specific learning goals and objectives and accountability at the end of that, unquestionably we would all benefit from that, individuals and society at large. Another perspective is to think of education and training as an industry and systematically help these young people in their transition to work to find work in the Orient and to send them out as ambassadors of our system.
Terrific objectives. I mean,
Yeah.
I agree, Catherine, 100% with
I was
that.
going to ask you, as both a former university president and as the father of a woman who has done work in Asia, what do you think about sort of systematically saying, okay, as part of a university education, there will be a component where one works there, and it's much more structured than just
Terrific.
finding a job on your own?
I think it's fabulous. But
Is it practical?
No. I mean, it's practical within modest limits. An individual institution within an individual program can do it. SFU was one of the largest co-op schools. The co-op education is fabulous education, combination of experience in the classroom and in the workplace. To a large degree, many places like SFU, U of Vic, Waterloo, Capilano College are in fact trying to get international placements for their students in co-op. It's very labor intensive, it's very costly, it's very difficult because of language barriers and so on to get a lot of that happening. Some of it is happening, and Catherine, I agree with you. Terrific idea, but very difficult to really get big numbers.
Do you think we may have a generation of people in 10 or 15 years who are in their mid-30s, early 40s, who come back here and know the minutiae of Japanese custom or how to do business in Singapore? Do you think that some of these people that we've met today are going to come back?
Oh, sure they are. Because many of them are working for international companies who have offices all over the world. And they'll move them from Singapore to Paris or back to Toronto or Vancouver.
Well, I think you have to ask what's there to come back to, too. I mean, we know why some of these young people are leaving. It's because of a disenchantment with the direction Canada is going in, continually bogged in all sorts of strange things like constitutional discussions. And so some young people, and certainly some older people, are saying, I'm tired of this. I'm going to go somewhere else. I want a frontier. I want a new quality of life, a new style of life, and I don't intend to ever come back to Canada until it gets its act together.
But you know what? I think most Canadians, including young Canadians, I'm an optimist on this, realize that this is the best country in the world, despite all of our problems.
And
they want to remain a part of it. They want to come back. Some won't, but most will.
And they realize it because they've been outside of Canada.
Sure.
And certainly that's how I learned what a great country we have, I think.
That's one of the other values of going and seeing other people, other cultures, comparing yourself, and having a more positive attitude toward yourself.
But at the same time, I think that you could get the same knowledge from living in various parts of Canada. And too many young people think, oh, well, I'll leave the country to find out about the world, when in fact, if they just moved halfway across their own country, they would find another way of doing things, another view of life and values and all. And it's inside their own country, and I think they need to know that too. So I'm not arguing that they shouldn't go to the Orient so much as that maybe that's a part of a process, and they should see more of their own country as well.
Catherine Barker and Bill Saywell, thank you very much.
Thank you.